As an obsessive dad gamer, I'm going to give you my take as to whether Path of Exile 2 is the new king of ARPGs yet. Just quickly, my background. I've been playing Path of Exile 1 only for a couple of years. I did skip the last league. I heard it was really good, but I was just too burnt out. My Path of Exile 2 background, I've been playing every release since it came out. This league, I played a martial artist with a new amulet. Really fun. Got to level 97. Got bored and decided to start a new character. I chose the Liminal Coil unique wand. It looked good. It felt pretty good to play. It's a non-meta build with no build guide. I've had fun. I've crafted and bought a lot of my chase items, but I may reroll as it's not ideal in terms of tankiness or necessarily clear speed for the tough expedition mobs. But it handles maps and everything else really, really nicely. Path of Exile 1's campaign has a better length, i.e. it's shorter, which is good. It feels a bit outdated and old though. Path of Exile 2 has a better campaign, but the length of the zones and the actual campaign itself is worrying. Act 1 is peak. Act 2 feels too long. Act 3 is twice as long as it should be and is such a grind. Act 4 is quite nice. I love the interludes. I am super worried that by the time Path of Exile 2 1.0 is released, the acts will just be overwhelmingly long. So the winner here goes to Path of Exile 2, but if the acts get too long, it's going to go back to Path of Exile 1. In terms of the end game, mechanics, it was Path of Exile 1 by a long shot prior to this patch, but now I'm not so sure. Abyss was the first strong mechanic in Path of Exile 2 that I really enjoyed, but now I find Breach is okay. I do love the new rings and bases. I haven't done much Delirium, but people love to farm expensive jewels called Voices with it. Temple has good potential. I loved it last time. It's just been nerfed too much, and I do love Ritual, but Expedition is by far my favorite league mechanic, even with the crazy mosquitoes and just super powerful and tanky mobs. In terms of bossing, Path of Exile 1's pinnacle bosses are well thought out and very difficult. But Path of Exile 2 has great potential in this area, so we'll see with further releases of Path of Exile 2. In terms of the map system, Path of Exile 2's never-ending atlas is clunky. It's been far more tolerable this league, in fact far more tolerable given the variety and fun of the mechanics. And there are some fun things I like in this system, like finding unique maps along the way or rarer or quirky maps, but it's fundamentally not great, and the Path of Exile 1 system, where you have a map and you run it, is far superior. In terms of the atlas, Path of Exile 2 had a horrible atlas prior to this release, but it's been vastly improved, and I think I'm almost preferring it to Path of Exile 1, to be honest, with the exception that you can't unspec atlas points, but that's a minor update. I love the extra depth added by the Jado, Doriani, and the other overlays, and I like the idea that you can switch around points easily on these as well. Some players love tablets and hate scarabs, some are vice versa. I think both have issues, and these can be ironed out in future. Overall, Path of Exile 1 last league was a clear endgame winner. I think this league, I'm giving the crown to Path of Exile 2. It is just so interesting, and combined with the complexity and depth, which I'll talk about later, it just wants you to stay in that endgame. In terms of crafting, I love crafting in Path of Exile 1. I do a lot of solo self-found or SSF play. Path of Exile 2 crafting started off rough. It went super deterministic though, a couple of patches ago, where you could craft like ultimate endgame gear. A lot of players may say it was too deterministic. I still thought it was very enjoyable. It was tapered down last league, but it's been tapered down again, and I think it's been a little bit overly nerfed. Crafting is now very RNG reliant. At first, I hated the nerfs, but I'm finding I'm still enjoying crafting this league. I do think though it needs to be buffed a bit, and the crafting crown would have to go to Path of Exile 1. In terms of character speed, it is such a pity that this has to be a section in this video. Zones are often extremely long and unnecessarily windy and painful to explore. Then you have the fact that your character has been created to be intentionally slow. GGG later added a sprint ability which takes you from turtle to human form. Even though you can call fire and hail down from the sky and could probably kill every superhero except Superman, yet you need to hold down a button to run like a mere mortal. And all of this is not even the issue. Here it is. While you run at speeds that make no sense, given your other superhuman abilities, you trip over an enemy or even a rock on the ground. And then to make things 10 times worse, when you stumble and roll on the ground at the speed that would be slower than a child or an older person who couldn't even aim straight with a bow and arrow, and yet I remind you, as I said, you're calling down fire and hail from heaven, with so much slowness that while you grovel on the ground, you get killed. I would say 50 to 70% of all my deaths have been groveling on the ground, pathetically being unable to get up in time. Because of course, how many superhero movies have you seen or games have you played where tripping over was the biggest issue, and that's the main way you got killed? I'll stop here. The winner by a mile, which would take you about 10 minutes to walk in Path of Exile 2, is Path of Exile 1. In terms of build variety, for the longest time, Path of Exile 2 was very weak in this area. But this league, Path of Exile 2 has come back a bit. You've got a lot of builds to choose from now, both meta and non-meta. I would say Path of Exile 1 probably edges this category out, but it could be an easy tie. Path of Exile 2 has enough characters now to keep me going, and I think I'm going to roll, as I said, my third character shortly. Chase factor. Now, this is probably one of the most important areas. Really, it boils down to how long do you keep playing the end game of Path of Exile 2. It's from a combination of end game mechanics, the mapping system, the chase items you need, the complexity, and the characters you can build. And Path of Exile 1 was far more complex with more chase items until this league. Path of Exile 2, this league, has so many kinds of new equipment, bases, stats. Look at these amulets, breach rings. It has many new lineage supports, which are extremely powerful. And there are so many that I suspect many seasoned players aren't even aware of them all. And they cost hundreds of divines, so you're not going to get them quickly. They're going to keep you chasing in the end game. There are lots more socketable items, which is awesome. They're just all over the place, which comes back to user friendliness, which I'll discuss next. But it is great to see such a variety. You can even quality jewels, which you can't do in Path of Exile 1. And can I just say something? They added Mage Blood. And there are so many other changes which add depth and complexity that I am now going to give this award to Path of Exile 2. It has kept me this league in the end game longer than Path of Exile 1 ever has. And prior to this release, I never thought those words would come out of my mouth. Now, I feel like a lot of design decisions in Path of Exile 2, just my opinion, are as a result of the need to be different from Path of Exile 1. And I don't think this is the best approach. Why don't we take what works in Path of Exile 1 and improve on it and leave what doesn't? And there were a lot more aspects of the game which I think have been ironed out or removed, which were an attempt to be different from Path of Exile 1, which just didn't work. But things that still remain are the sprinting mechanic, overly long and windy zones which don't serve much purpose, and of course the never-ending atlas. In conclusion, I honestly believe Path of Exile 2 is now the better ARPG, even if it's by slightly. At last league, I did not think you'd hear me saying that. There was just no way Path of Exile 2 had the complexity and the depth or the chase items or anything like that in the end game to keep you playing. But the fact is, I would play Path of Exile 1 a lot more in the end game prior to this league than 2. But this league, I'm still playing Path of Exile 2, and so are a lot of other people. Anyway, I hope to be making a lot more videos. Hit like and subscribe if you want, and I'll see you around.